Today's deck profile looks at the aquatic and sea animal deck featuring Ryugumon. Ryugumon was first introduced in Digimon Liberator and quite the boss monster used by xiquemon against Shoto Kazuma. That being said, when taking webcomic, manga, or anime related characters, do they actually scale to a powerhouse when used in the actual card game? Ryugumon takes elements from the aquatic Digimon and honestly feels good for a start, but ultimately feels like it's still missing something. Today's video will discuss some elements and why it can be a deck that is mostly slept on, and other reasons why it can be legitimately powerful. With that being said, I'm going to cover a few cards individually before streamlining the big picture of what ultimately this deck wants to do. Ryugumon is one of the newest top ends for aquatic and sea animal based decks. It is a level 6 Digimon that has decode level 5, meaning when this Digimon would leave the battle area other than by battle, you may play one blue level 5 Digimon from the Digivolution cards without paying cost. Additionally, when Digivolving, you may play one level 4 or lower blue Digimon from this Digimon's Digivolution cards without paying cost. And also end of your turn, once per turn you may return one of your Digimon to the bottom of your deck to return one of your opponent's Digimon with as high or lower level than the returned Digimon. In essence, this Digimon can float into another Digimon and be ready for another level 6 play on the following turn. In some instances, you could even utilize Hackmon Ace, or even for our players in Japan, the upcoming release of Metal Seedramon Ace, which is going to be absolutely devastating. While there is a newer Shangpangmon, I don't care much for this Digimon and prefer the EX6 variant that has an on-play and when Digivolving effect that can place up to 3 of your other blue Digimon as this Digimon's bottom Digivolution cards. And then you return all the other level 4 or lower Digimon to the hand. For each card you placed with this effect, you increase the maximum level by 1, tucking 2 cards underneath, and you can bounce all level 6s to the hand. And combining this card with a specific card in this deck, you can get some insane value. But what do you know? We also have the ability to run aegisdramon in this deck. Aegisdramon provides a lot of fun interactions, considering when you Digivolve into it, you can play any blue level 3 Digimon card, or one Digimon with Seedramon in its name, or the aqua or sea animal in its traits. Because of this, Ryugumon and Shangpangmon can be played for their amazing removal effects to keep the board clean. And if your opponent plays a Digimon via card effect, you may activate this Digimon's when Digivolving effect. One reason why I am a huge proponent of this deck is because of not only its ability to build wide boards, and is easily one of the most effective colors with memory efficiency, jamming, and more, but the fact that this deck has one of the most powerful level 5s in the card game in the form of haunkunmon. Haunkunmon returns as a new level 5 Digimon that has an on-play and when Digivolving effect that prevents your Digimon from being deleted by battle through your opponent's turn. While true, it does not protect from bounce, DP reduction, de-Digivolve, and general deletion effects. The fact is that its inheritable circumvents one of the most basic core mechanics of the Digimon card game, being blocker. And this is ultimately why I fell in love with this deck. Your turn, this Digimon's attack target cannot be switched. And while this level 5 Digimon does a lot for the deck, the Tamer is another element of this deck that provides insane value. Xiquemon, first and foremost, is a memory fixer. And the best part, you have a Digimon in the form of shellmon that can play this Tamer for free. Your turn, when any of your Digimon with the aqua or sea animal in its traits attacks, by suspending this Tamer, you may place one level 5 or lower Digimon card with aqua or sea animal as the bottom Digivolution source. Remember Shangpangmon? Because of Shangpangmon, you can trigger that your turn effect to play out any of your level 5 or lower Digimon with the aqua or sea animal trait. Seedramon battle protection? Done. Haunkunmon battle protection and setting up a blocker? Easy. xiquemon bouncing floodgates? Simple. Or better yet, you could be playing Sangomon and gleaning the top 3 cards and potentially be adding 2. A Digimon with the aqua or sea animal trait, and then another card with the Liberator trait. Instant value. In early preliminary testing, this deck had 3 major issues. Number 1, purple decks have access to the powerful Leviamon and Biting Crush and Lucemon decks. When this option card appears, they have many ways to pitch a 7-grade Demon Lord that will inevitably put your board on a semi-lock. Be extremely wary of these decks and how fast or aggressive you want to be. Number 2, floodgates. Whether it be memory floodgates or card effects that prevent Digimon from being played by card effects, your bottom end predominantly has jamming and effects that protect you from battle. But your top end is ultimately where all your removal is. And if you can't get there, it gets a little dicey. And finally, number 3, Draw Power. In early renditions of this deck, not using Wanyamon at times made me feel like my hand size was severely depleted. And if your opponent has removal, like in the case of Lucemon decks, this is where not having enough resources to make all your plays, or give you options, can make your games close. While my first rendition of the game had some mild success, there was some significant changes in other cards that I considered when updating it. And like all my deck profiles, they are not 100% perfect, and provide you, my viewers, what I found preliminary what works, and what doesn't. There's just no need to reinvent the wheel. With that, let's look at the card by card for this deck. Level 2 wise, you've got yourself 4 Wanyamons and 1 copy of Puyoyomon. Puyoyomon offers an opponent's turn effect where when any of your opponent's Digimon attack, by returning this Digimon with the aqua or sea animal trait to the bottom of the deck, you return one of your opponent's Digimon with as high or lower level as the returned Digimon to the hand. In essence, this egg provides potential removal, but only with a condition that your opponent attacks. The other egg you could utilize for this is Bukumon from BT14 for the jamming inheritable, if your opponent has a Digimon with less sources than you do. But of course, BT7 Bukumon could also be used as you'll frequently play cards from the sources. It just depends on what your top end is. Though the 4 ofs I strongly urge players to go with is the BT11 Wanyamon that lets you draw a card if you have a blue Tamer in play. Level 3s, I do think running a high number of level 3s is beneficial for the deck, because you are so stack dependent. Starting with the non-aqua and sea animal trait Digimon, Gomamon takes up 5 slots for the level 3s. Because these Digimon are Sea Beast, they are not considered part of your effects. With BT14 Gomamon, you've got an unblockable Digimon at start of main, and you've also got a Digimon that can trash any source under one of your opponent's Digimon. Though the BT7 variant helps with drawing cards when it's played via card effect. But for the remaining 8 level 3s, you've got Sangomon, who is an excellent searcher in the deck and also provides an end of turn, once per turn effect that gains you a memory. And lastly, Swimmon for having passive evade along with jamming. Because of this evade ability, it's really funny that you could be using Yaoqinglong to tuck a Digimon with jamming underneath Swimmon to have an evade level 3 that has inherited jamming. So much value here. Of your level 4s, you've got Shellmon for when digivolving, playing Yaoqinglong if you have 1 or less Tamers. Because you can set up memory fixers quickly, and also simultaneously have the same inheritable as Sangomon, this means you've got a potential +2 memory at the end of attack. xiquemon has inheritable jamming but also provides an on-play when digivolving effect that can bounce floodgates. Considering this is one of the only ways to remove floodgates, this makes it a very viable level 4. And last but not least, aegisdramon. Promo aegisdramon has an on-play and when digivolving effect, where one of your blue Digimon can be deleted in battle until the end of your opponent's turn. Because of your top end and other Digimon effects, you've got ways to play Digimon, which means you could be providing rush for specific stacks. Though you can adjust your ratios appropriately, and also utilize the BT15 aegisdramon for simply having a rush body with inheritable jamming instead. Either way, you have options. While I have covered haunkunmon as the major player for the level 5s, marinebullmon has Decode 4 and can play a level 4 or lower Digimon if it's removed from the battle area other than by battle. It also allows you to, when digivolving, place a Digimon card with aqua or sea animal in any of its traits under this Digimon. Meaning in theory you could tuck your other level 6s and then play them back out with aegisdramon if you get up there. But its end of attack inheritable also plays out that level 4 Digimon, meaning you could be bouncing level 3s or providing battle protection, since sadly shellmon does none of these things and doesn't have an on-play effect. But BT15 Mega aegisdramon was the spiciest component, in which if you preemptively tuck it before you attack, you could be slotting another card under it to get the unsuspend. Its removal though could also be useful. For the level 6s, I don't think there's really anything else to talk about here, considering you could just adjust the ratios or even use the new Haunkunmon, but damn, is the old one really good. aegisdramon likewise can supplement your aggressive plays, especially with Haunkunmon. But you could also, if you really wanted to, use cards like Blitzomnimon to finish the game. As for option cards, I kept it simple with Full Moon Meteor Impact, because what if your board isn't fully developed for the use of options like Great Maelstrom? Otherwise, you've got typical consistency options in the form of mental training. As for Tamers, Yaoqinglong in multiple copies does a lot of work when you attack, but because you're running Wanyamons, you need other blue Tamer options. Davis Motomiya was a consideration, but there's no need for memory fixing if you've got Yaoqinglong already, even if Davis can add you a blue card. But Sora and Joe can be a great disruption tool for stripping those bottom sources, and considering a lot of decks right now are on proto form, this negates its one advantage of placing itself back into the security. But one final consideration was Shoto Kazuma, considering this Tamer can be found with Sangomon. The downside is that there's no way to play it for free, and it doesn't count as a blue Tamer for Wanyamon's effect. Generally, this deck has been my favorite to test out of all the decks in Special Booster 2.0 so far. And while there are a lot of low-hanging fruit decks, like Emperor Greymon, Magna Garurumon, Purple Hybrid, Lord Knightmon X, and more, the time to test in preparations for Nationals is now. Because with a small pool of cards left to release in December, I hope there isn't a restriction list coming soon either. What are your thoughts on Ryugumon, and do you think it has its own sense of a competitive edge? What were your favorite elements about this deck profile, and what would you change? Let me know, and I'll catch you tomorrow on more Digi goodness. This is DIGI-PANDA, logging out.